Welcome along on the road to Sweden, the largest of the Nordic region of nations. In the south of the region, the city of Malmö guides competitors into here, the Ring, just outside of Kristianstad, for one of the most important race weekends of the year in international karting. The 2025 edition of the FIA Karting World Championships is here at a circuit that has regularly hosted FIA karting events for the last decade. Well known to drivers, teams and spectators alike, Kristianstad's brand of racing is sure to be explosive as the world's best fights for the title of FIA Karting World Champion in both the OK and OK Junior categories. Preparations for this weekend must be on point, and with changeable weather conditions, the competitors know that they are in for the most arduous test of the season. The field is a mix of familiar names from this season's European Championships, wildcards from the region, and returning winners from previous World Championships. 3 days of racing are set to firstly find the finalists from over 200 drivers on the entry list, round a circuit that is a true roller coaster of a ride. Down in the paddock, the pressure is on as everyone knows that this weekend is an opportunity to go into the history books of the sport. One moment of brilliance, one error out on track, can make all the difference between winning and losing over the course of the classic single event format to determine this year's world champion. But before we get going, let's hear from some of those behind the scenes who can tell us what it takes to put on the mondokart.com FIA Karting World Championships.
My name is Lars and I love karting. It's racing. It's very challenging and it's high speed, lovely weather, exciting. My heart is growing. It's very nice. We are volunteers and we are happy. We make friends and it's very, very nice. I like it.
Hey, my name is Rasmus. It's fun to be here. We love it. It's an opportunity to see world-class karting and to support your local club, Kristianstad, at the same time. The attraction here is basically the pace, the quality of the driving, the atmosphere, watching all the teams going in the paddock.
Hello, my name is Billy. I like Kristianstad as a club because it's like a small family here and we work all together. So we put in a lot of hours and hard work in all the weathers. You see, without us, this kind of tracks couldn't exist. I like karting because it's tight races and the kids are so damn good about driving.
My name is Linus and as a karting driver it's a lot more experience and to see how amazing these people are and the very big skill they have in everything they do. Everything is just perfect when they hit the lines.
I'm Kenneth. I'm here as a volunteering for this World Championship. We are here for learning a lot and for supporting this. Without all the volunteers, there will not be a championship. The greatest thing about karting is where everybody started to grow up. And the talent in this karting is so big. Every young people should do it. Nobody who has been a part of karting know how big this talent is in karting. It's so amazing.
Who better to join for a lap of Kristianstad than the winner of the last FIA OK Senior event, Victor Gustafsson. Turn 1 is a flat right-hander, immediately flowing into the first chicane. Right, then left. The track then heads slightly downhill into Turn 4, a good place to make an overtake. The speed builds through the kink of Turn 5 over a small jump for the OKs, before hitting the brakes hard into the left-hand hairpin of Turn 6. Turn 7 offers a wide entry into this right-hander, expect plenty of action here. Before the drivers hit the technical section, another kink through Turn 8 propels the drivers into Turn 9, and then the tight right-hander of 10. The drivers then accelerate in towards Turn 11, switch back to possible as shown here last year, through Turns 12 and then 13, before another chance to overtake, another wide entry into Turn 14. A burst of speed completes a lap here at Kristianstad. 14 corners over 1.2 kilometers of the awesome ring, one of the most popular drivers' circuits on the calendar. A wet PF International in the United Kingdom was the scene for last year's World Championship in OK Junior. Among the favourites for the race were the likes of Nicholas Schaufler and Kenzo Craigie. In the end, it would be a battle between the latter and fellow Brit Noah Baglin for the title. A memorable duel between the two saw them trade the lead several times in the last lap of the final before the deciding moments came at the final turn. Baglin going from hero to zero, Craigie claiming his first FIA Karting title. Contrasting emotions between the two Prema Racing drivers after the checkered flag. With Craigie moving up to the senior category for 2025, who would be best placed to join the Brit on the World Championship Roll of Honour? Rain had preceded the final during Sunday morning's superheats, but as the finalists' medals were handed out, dry conditions would set the tone for the final. From the earlier results, Baglin started on pole, with teammate and new European champion Dean Hoogendoorn starting second. Eli Christian would lead the charge for Tony Kart from third, with the ever-improving Evan Purcell from RFM in fourth. 21 laps in Sweden to find the first FIA Karting World Champion of the year. Off the start, Baglin got the best possible launch, executing well the elected switch to driver's left for lights out. Purcell got ahead of Hoogendoorn for second. 36 drivers into the first chicane can often be problematic in Sweden. For numerous contenders, their 2025 World Championship final would be over on lap 1. Baglin at the front looked to stretch away from Purcell and Hoogendoorn. Retirement would be confirmed for Bosco Arias, William Kalija and Michael McGoy. By turn 7, Baglin had established a strong advantage. Giacomo Giusto was also out of contention. Turner Brown had joined the scrap for second. The retirees would walk back to the marshal's post. The chasing pack needed to get themselves organised. However, Hoogendoorn was keen to get track position in his pursuit of the race leader. A move at turn 14 did not go his way though. Running wide allowed Purcell to cut back to retake second, and then to make matters worse for the European champion, he'd lose positions to Brown and Koski's Valerio Villapiana. A real setback in Hoogendoorn's aim to become a double OK Junior FIA champion in the same calendar year. Villapiana would attack Brown for third at turn 4, allowing Hoogendoorn back through. Another attack from the Italian at turn 7 would be more successful. The fighting had split the pack apart. Good news for the race leader, who was already 1.5 seconds clear of the rest. Lap 3, Andrea Mani's move on Lucas Bonham wouldn't quite see the Forza Racing driver up to 19th place, overtaking proving tricky in the last corner. Leonardo Gorski's commendable run in the heats gave the MP Kart Racing team a shot at a strong result. This move on Will Green put the Henzer kart up into the top 5 on lap 4. The gap to the next group, 1 second. Further down in the order, Tony Kart's Matteo Rivals had a go at Asher Ochstein in the CRG. A second attempt at turn 9 did the trick on lap 5, the French driver up to 22nd place. Up in the podium positions, Hoogendoorn was intent on disposing Purcell in the fight for second. Lap 6 gave the Dutch driver the opportunity at turn 14, which he took, with Villapiana following through and back up to third place. Will Green's debut season in OKJ has been a positive one. This fight with Gian-Matteo Russo didn't go his way, however. An impressive run for Panama's finest. Russo up 11 positions before the halfway mark. Ludovico Mazzola and Sebastian Escandari clashed on lap 7 in a meeting of bodywork at turn 7. Mazzola frustrated, compounded by the duo being outside the top 25. By lap 8, Baglin's lead was 2.5 seconds. Hoogendoorn and Villapiana seemingly unable to make any inroads. Andrea Mani became the second Forza Racing retiree on lap 9, the end of a difficult season for the Monegasque. There was further good news though for teammate Russo. A move on Christian at turn 7 put him up into the top 5. The overtakes were continuing up and down the field. Finland's Oskari Wali had a good run into the final. The Paralin Wildcards move on Martin Bertolacini was one of many on their way to a top 15 finish. Lap 12, and with Baglin pulling further away, Villapiana used turn 4 to get past Hoogendoorn. The impressive run from Gorski was also continuing, nipping through and onto the podium. Not satisfied with third, a big lunge from the pole was well read by Villapiana, who cut back to retake second place off of turn 10. A lap later, Hoogendoorn moved down the inside of overtaking hotspot turn 7 to re-establish himself back up into third place and back onto the podium. With Baglin's lead extending further, the drivers knew their realistic chances of winning the race were gone. Lap 17, Hoogendoorn bravely went down the inside of Via Piana, but again the Italian held the steering wheel open to frustrate the European champion and retake second place. The outstanding question now being who out of the three would miss out on a World Championship podium. Turner Brown's final had started well, but faded in the second half. Julian Frasnelli, the latest driver to pounce at turn 7 on lap 18. The American unfortunately now down to 19th position with little time remaining. Martin Bertoluccini would also have a go for the freshly liveried Ward Racing team through turn 10. Back at the sharp end, the dramas of 2024 were a long way in the rear view of Noah Baglin. Over 4 seconds was the advantage for the Briton, who'd been unchallenged since the beginning of the race. Exiting the final corner, where it had all gone wrong at PFI, Noah Baglin completed his mission to become FIA Karting World Champion for OK Junior. The redemption arc was complete. In doing so, Baglin had become the 4th British driver to win the world title in the OK Junior era, and for Prema Racing, the Kart Republic running team had secured a European and World Drivers' title double, capping off a truly dominant season for them. The final top 10 in OK Junior, Baglin, the new world champion, was joined on the podium by a delighted Via Piana and teammate Hoogendoorn. Strong efforts from Gorski and Christen secured top 5 finishers. The likes of Russo, Green, Manuel Miguez, Henry Constant-Kumpen and Lucas Sell will look forward to what's next off the back of their world final top 10s. A regular scene on the podium in OK Junior 2025, Prema Racing's 3rd FIA victory of the year in the category. For Noah Baglin, the taste of success far sweeter than that of the opening European round earlier in the year. This time, he'd bounced back from the disappointment of 1 year prior. The World Championship was his.
It's been an amazing weekend, obviously getting first in quali, and just after that we had the amazing momentum. Going into the final it was amazing. We got a great start, a bit of a gap, and then Evan I saw behind me, and then the next lap Dean was ahead of Evan. I looked behind, I had a huge gap, so I just stayed calm and put my head down. That's what I did. Obviously last year's World Championship didn't end very well for me, obviously crashing in the last corner, but it is what it is, and I brought my experience for the Europeans too, to bring here for the World Championship, and I just stayed calm when I had that gap, like I had a gap last year. But this year I didn't stress out, and I just put my head down, and we hit some purple sectors in the final, so that's all we could do, and it was an amazing result.
I feel a bit nervous because when I was there in the front battling with Dean and other drivers, I want to catch up Noah, but it was difficult, so I tried to focus the best and to don't miss a corner.
Yeah, I think that European Championship was definitely a great point in the bag, and then getting this podium in the World Championship, unfortunately not getting the win as we wanted from the start of this weekend, but we started off well with a pole position in qualifying overall, and then Noah as in a second place was of course hard as a teammate, and then we fought until the end, hard and fair. So I think not the result we wanted to have in the final, but it is what it is, and we'll see next year.
No, it's fantastic really. In some ways it's even more enjoyable. You see it from a completely different angle. And I want to say thank you to these two, because for a year now we've won nearly everything. And as we can put it down to material or everything, but you also need the two drivers as well, and between them they've done a fantastic weekend. The final was very difficult from our point of view because it was a drying track and there's a condition we hadn't really seen during the weekend or even during the testing. But we just used all of our data and knowledge, and the drivers did the job.
(2024's World Championship final at PFI was a race that lived long in the memory, as the home support descended to see if one of their own would once again win the Senior Direct Drive Karting World title. European champion Joe Turney was within touching distance of the win, until one mistake on the last lap opened the door for CRG's late recruit Ethan Jeff Hall to step through and snatch victory. Turney would have to settle for second, whilst Matthew Higgins made it a British lockout of the podium places in third. Jeff Hall and moved on to F4 in 25, whilst a new influx of young drivers had battled it out for victories across the course of the European season with the established names. As the crowds gathered around the circuit, stormy skies above, the feeling for many was that the conditions would play into the hands of drivers from nations used to the unpredictable. Australia's James Anagnostiadis would start from pole, Scotland's Zach Drummond on the outside of row 1. Lev Krutoholov starting third looked to give Energy Corsa back-to-back podiums. Daniel Kelleher from Ireland was sure to be a challenger from P4. But as history had taught us before, the World Championship final in OK, one of the biggest prizes in world karting, could be anyone's race to win. 2024 podium finisher Matthew Higgins would sadly have tech issues before the start, cruelly out before the race had even begun. 35 drivers would therefore compete for the OK crown. Anagnostiadis had elected to stay on the inside for the start. It was a close run between him and Drummond for Fusion Motorsport into turn 1. The field ran clean through the first chicane. The top 4 had all held their positions from the start. Belgium's Thibaut Ramaekers held 5th, from Joe Turney in 6th. Unlike the OKJ final, it had stayed close at the front of the early stages. An error from Anagnostiadis off turn 6 gave Drummond his chance. The highly tipped 16-year-old took advantage and was into an early lead in the World Championship final. Anagnostiadis down to second place was ahead of Krutoholov, who held third ahead of Kelleher, Ramaekers, Turney, Tom Aprodier, Noah Wolf and Davide Vitaro. Start of the second lap, Krutoholov and Kelleher went side by side into turn 1. Turney had taken 5th from Ramaekers and could smell the opportunity for more. A shrewd move put the former European champ up to 4th. Anagnostiadis made up for his earlier error, retaking the lead from Drummond through turn 9 and looking to establish a greater gap to those behind. The advantage for the top 2 was just over a second. Starting quickly further down the order, Yuri Peschel was up 8th to 18th, Aston Sharp up 9 spots to 21st. By lap 3, Turney was up to 3rd. The threat of Ramaekers was still very real, however. A move on the Ukrainian Krutoholov for 4th showed that the Belgian was once again in the mood for one of his stellar Sunday drives. Squabbles in the midfield caught some out, Victory Lane's Matthias van der Kerkhoff finding himself off the road and down the order through turns 9 and 10. Oliver Rasmussen's hopes of success ended on lap 3, pulling into the pits. Lap 5 and with the chasing pack closing, Drummond goes to the lead at turn 6. The inside move this time, whilst a stack up behind the new race leader gave Ramaekers the chance to take road position from Turney. Krutoholov tries around the outside without success. How critical a phase in the race would that be for VDK Racing's driver? Later that same lap, Ramaekers attacks into turn 14. A mega move drops Anagnostiadis out of the podium positions. Krutoholov's speed down the straight puts him on the inside of Turney. Brave overtake, putting the Energy Corsa back up to 3rd. The order at the quarter-length point to the final was now Drummond from Ramaekers, Krutoholov, Turney, Anagnostiadis, whilst Tom Aprodier held 6th. Turn 7, Turney takes 3rd back from Krutoholov. An important move. The chance of a repeat of his European Championship ceiling victory here 1 year ago still very much on. Lap 7, Prodier goes for it into turn 14 on Anagnostiadis. The exchange continues wheel to wheel down the pit straight, almost opening the door for Kelleher. The Australian holds on for 5th place, whilst Kelleher and Prodier run close through the chicane. Lap 8, having closed in on Drummond, Ramaekers makes his intentions clear to take the lead of the World Championship final at turn 7. New territory for the European race winner in Slovakia last year, as the pressure now builds. In contrasting fortunes, his compatriot van der Kerkhoff becomes the 3rd retirement of the race. Drummond attempts a response into turn 14. Ramaekers holds round the outside, but the move gives Turney a run at both of the 2 youngsters. Turney takes 2nd from Drummond. Both drivers who started on row 3 now have command of the World Championship final. Lap 9, Turney tries down the inside at turn 7. Millimetre close racing between the 2 nearly ends in disaster. Drummond, forced out wide, has to deal with the resilient Krutoholov, who holds his line and eventually is able to take 3rd place on the entry to turn 11. For the top 2, it is a turning point in the final. Ramaekers and Turney are now clear and know the destiny of the world title is between the 2 of them. On to lap 11, turn 7's overtaking wheel is added to by Jensen Burnett with a move on rugby podium finisher Davide Vitaro. A mature move puts the Canadian up to 12th. A lap later, Scotland's Aston Sharp pulls a similar move for 14th place on a fading Prodier, who in the end would suffer disqualification for work that occurred on his Tony Khan machine whilst it was on the pre-grid ahead of the final. lap 15, the Green family had already seen one top 10 from Will in the junior race. Zach Green, meanwhile, was upholding 8th place ahead of fellow Brit Noah Wolf in a continuation of the improving form seen for Zach Green in rugby. Malta's Jakub Mikulev, meanwhile, was able to move his Works Kart Republic past Fusion Motorsport's Mariano Lopez. Daniel Kelleher's 2025 international karting season has often seen the Irishman finish races strongly. A move in Anagnostiadis on lap 16 looked to commence a charge through the field, taking him up to 5th place. The final for 2024 Junior World Champion Kenzo Craigie was growing in positivity. Having started 14th, the move on teammate and fellow Mercedes junior driver Anagnostiadis put him up to 6th place. Lap 20, Kelleher's nibble at Drummond for 4th delayed both in their pursuit of Krutoholov's 3rd place. The pace at the very front also saw Ramaekers holding a near 1 second advantage over Turney. Elsewhere, Elliot Kaczynski's race would be over on lap 21, ending hopes of a Swedish success story in this year's World Championships for the host nation. The most important matter was that the driver was okay, with the incredible dedication of the Kristianstad marshals also on display. A few laps to go and Kelleher's move on Drummond for 4th initially pays off. That would be until Drummond counterattacks to retake the position from the Irishman through sector number 2. The back and forth plays into the hands of Craigie, now up to 5th place. The top 10 covered by a mere 8 seconds. 2 laps remaining, Kelleher's pace dropped him into the hands of Noah Wolf. A clash at turn 9 would compromise both drivers and allow both Zach Green and Christian Kostoya through and into the top 8. Back ahead, one of the surprises of the weekend, Lev Krutoholov held a sizable gap to those chasing for his podium position. The job was done as Anagnostiadis moved back ahead of Drummond through turn 1 for 4th, with Craigie slotting in behind for 5th. Prema Racing on for another fine set of results, with the wider Kart Republic family looking at another domination of the top 10 positions. But there would be no stopping Thibaut Ramaekers. One of the strongest performances in world karting over the past few years, this was his moment to become FIA Karting World Champion. He'd won races before, but nothing on this level. For VDK Racing, a tremendous result proving their ability as one of the best teams in the world. And for the proud karting nation of Belgium, they've waited half a century since the days of the great Francois Goldstein to see one of their own win the Senior Direct Drive World Championship. Their karting superstar, Thibaut Ramaekers, was world champion. The final result in Sweden, Ramaekers holds off Turney by 0.7 of a second, a great result for the Brit after a difficult FIA season. Krutoholov repeats Higgins' feat for Energy Corsa in 3rd, Mercedes junior duo Anagnostiadis and Craigie wrap out the top 5, a valiant P6 for Drummond, Green and Sharp making 5 Brits inside the top 10, ahead of Burnett and Filippo Sala. A worthy winner in Sweden for this year's World Championship, Thibaut Ramaekers enters the history books of the OK category and confirms his position as one of the finest drivers in modern-day karting. A proud moment for him, the VDK Racing team and Belgian karting as a whole.
It was a really good weekend. All the weekend we had a really good speed. Despite the DNF, we managed to start P5 for the final and we managed to win it. So it's unbelievable. I want to congratulate Joe and Lev for their amazing job also, and yeah, really happy. It was very stressful with the weather. We didn't know if it will be wet or dry, but finally it was dry, so it was perfect. I know I had a lot of space in the dry and I win, so really good.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, it's not ideal to be the 3rd time second, so not the result that we wanted for going into the final, but it was a good result after what actually hasn't been a very straightforward week for us. We were lacking a bit of speed in the heats, I think a bit out of our control, and then by the end once that was changed we were fine, and then we had good speed again in the final, just not quite as much as Thibaut, so a pretty tough week for us. So to come away with 2nd we can definitely be happy with, but yeah, it's just a shame.
Yeah, the race was not an easy one. I wouldn't say it was physically hard, it was mentally really hard for me, considering all the finals we've had in Europeans. We've always had some bad luck, but I think this was my best performance I've ever did, so I'm just really proud of myself.
Yes, Kristianstad for us, it's really a special place since we already won the World Championship in 2018 here. We win again this year with Thibaut. I would like to thank all the team who work for this. My whole team. My team is incredible. They are all motivated people. They are all passionate. They did an incredible job because this year we had a huge problem with tyre management. It was complicated. And we managed to learn all that, learn from our mistakes, and today we are world champions. Thank you all. It's an incredible moment for us. And with that, another FIA Karting World Championship is in the books. The theme of Kristianstad 25, delivery from the promise of potential. In OK Junior, Noah Baglin puts the despair of PFI to rest, and with it takes another FIA OK Junior title for Prema Racing, who make it 3 drivers' titles in a row now, and the team's title in the category for 2025. In OK, 50 long years of waiting for Belgium's second senior direct drive world champion is over. Thibaut Ramaekers gives his trusting VDK Racing team a performance for the ages. Saving their best for last, they take the FIA Karting World Championship in mesmerising fashion. Thank you for joining us here in Sweden. We hope to see you again soon.